And then welcome to Changing the Narrative. Cecil Grant, our special guest host, John Harris. So today we're going to talk again about retirement. And it's not about the financial part of it, because I think a lot of people probably have already talked about and heard about being financially prepared. We've done a podcast about this topic before, and John's going to kind of recap on what we talked about. We're probably going to touch on some of those topics again. But we've got a lot of new stuff to talk about because as time has gone on, we've continued to think about the subject, hear from you guys about the subject. We've got some new wrinkles as we go forward. So John, if you could take it from here, that'd be great.
Thanks, Cecil. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, so last time Cecil and I, we started kicking around the old retirement tires, and we talked about the things that, we want to talk about things that, aren't financial stuff. I mean, everybody has to do that. And honestly, if you really think about it, that's probably the easiest part of this whole retirement thing. If you're, systematically saving for retirement. Cecil and I want to talk more about the things that are behind the things in terms of retirement that you may not be prepared for, that we've experienced and all our discussions with other people we've learned. So last time we opened it up with the retirement conversation, we talked about some of the bigger things, right? Like some of the things that, you learn when you retire. You go, well, the biggest thing is, what's my purpose? What are you going to do? You've been working all your life. You feel like you had purpose, either support your family, whatever you're trying to do, but then you retire and all of a sudden, no purpose. So we talked about, purpose. We talked about how hard it is to keep relationships during retirement because you're out doing, people are working. That's hard. Aging, how it on your body, how you get, tiredness and you slow down a little bit in retirement. We talked about all those things and just really the transition from going from a working person to someone that's retired. So last time we really touched on really the high level things about that we realized that we thought this before we retired and now we know this once we retired. And those raised even more questions and thoughts for us. So today, we're going to kind of dig a little bit deeper into some of those higher level things we talked about last time. Because now, since we talked about them, we've lived some of those things, and now we have some different perspectives around some of those items. So we'd like to share those with you as well. So, Cecil, that's kind of what we're going to do today.
Yeah. And I think just to start off, we'll start off with health. A lot of people, I think, don't think about health as something that's important when you retire. And when I talk about health, it's not just your physical health, it's your mental health. Mental health being the day that you wake up after you've retired and discover not only do you not have anywhere to go, but nobody needs you. Nobody needs your advice. Nobody needs the smarts that you still have, even at the age that you are, and how to deal with that. And we feel that we still have a lot to offer. I have a lot to offer. John has a lot to offer. A lot of you that are listening to this have a lot to offer. How do we create a purpose, a meaning, a reason to get up? If you have no reason to get up every morning and you allow that to continue day after day, week after week, month after month, there aren't going to be any year after year because you're not going to make it. And that's where we've discovered a lot of people are. What are your thoughts on that, John?
Well, see, so the one thing you touched on, I think both you and I talked about it earlier, is that this concept of what I realize now, really, in the high level for me is like, we worked all our lives. We had, like Cecil said, we were contributors. We had things to say. We had objectives to meet, things to solve, just all that stuff. Then you retire. Then you almost become irrelevant. I think that's the term. Society goes, okay, you're 65. Go off and play golf, John. Go off and, run in the fields. But we're not irrelevant, but we feel like we're pushed to be irrelevant. And so one of the examples I read from another guy that's into this retirement concept is, and I really thought, wow, that is really cool. We have all this knowledge and wisdom, but we have nobody to tell it to because people told us now, you're 65, go on out. And then they think all we're doing is sitting around, doing all these fun things, not doing anything else. But no, what the retired folks are doing, and Cecil and I just talked about this, and with this other guy who wrote this really cool article about the lie that he learned about being retired, is that we're doing a lot more things. Like we're using AI. We're doing all kinds of stuff. I have a personal story of using AI to help a friend of mine. But we're not sitting around, we need big buttons and we need, people with the signs to be real big so we know how to open the door. That's what Cecil and I really figured out later. Wow. When you retire, do you all some become like you can't do anything with yourself? We were talking about my first doctor's appointment when I turned 65. I started getting these questions. Do you pee on yourself? I'm like, what? I've never been asked that before.
Have you fallen down recently?
I ain't covered not to tell you I'm peeing on myself. I came my back hurt. What do you think? Do you pee on yourself? Are you able to get up? Can you put your socks on? Well, that's a little hard.
Yeah.
My back.
Can you feed yourself?
The point we're trying to make is that we're not like irrelevant. We're not out the pasture. And that's the thought process that we believe, because I believe, is the wrong process and the wrong thought.
And I think oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think to one point, what I've learned is there's a lot of people out there. All these people that we put out to pasture have a lot of energy, knowledge, and wisdom that the society shouldn't just let that go.
Yeah.
We need to somehow tap into that. That's my approach.
Yeah. I talked to listened to a podcast one of our classmates was on, and he is in the food service industry. He got out, he retired, and he described retirement as being home with his wife, waiting for her to, 10 o'clock we're going to do arts and crafts, and then at 5 o'clock we're going to watch Wheel of Fortune. And he said, "That's not for me, man." And he went back to work. And I think there's a I don't want to say a push, but it's kind of a belief system in place that says, oh, you're 60, you need to get ready to retire. And then at 65, you're kind of, everybody's like, so when you're retiring, when are you going to retire? And there's people that are in that age group who retirement isn't for them. Stopping work is not for them. And it isn't that for those of us who have stopped working that we don't have anything to contribute, but we can contribute in a different way. Some people, for them, it's better to go back to a job, and there should be no stigma attached to either one. If I don't want to go to a 9 to 5 every day, or a 6 to 6, or whatever work schedule you have, there's no problem with that. Whereas if the same person wants to go back to that and wants to work, as he said in the podcast I listened to, he's probably going to be that guy who will drop dead at work, because that's how long he's probably going to work, because that's who he is. I've heard stories of people retiring just because that's what everybody else was doing. And it wasn't what they really wanted to do, but they just did it because everybody else was doing it. And now you're kind of stuck in a place where you don't know why you retired. You don't know what it is you're going to do. You hadn't thought about it. And it's painful. But the painful part, I think, is that people aren't talking about it. We kind of hide it.
Yeah.
Now with social media, so we put up pictures of trips and fun things we've done over, a period of time. And everybody's like, oh, I guess they're having a good time in retirement. Am I really? Because that's a snapshot of what I did. It isn't every day of the week. We talked about in the last podcast that when you first start retire, for me, I know you feel like every day is spring break. You get up, you become a day drinker. You just have a good old time. And then after a couple of weeks, it's like this. I can't do this every day. And I need a purpose. I need a reason to get up. I need a reason. And hopefully in doing this podcast, we can collectively come up with, I can't give you a reason to get up, but I can tell you the reasons why I get up. I think John can share with you reasons why he gets up. And we can also share honestly that every day is not, like you said in your picture that you posted the other day, retirement is not peaches and cream every day. But there's some days that are just, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Provide you the opportunity to do things that you want to do on your schedule, on your time, for who you want to, if you want to. And some of that's good.
And Cecil, there's like two real takeaways I've learned since our last podcast. I think one is that society tells us that our purpose in retirement is basically hobbies. That's a misconnect, right? Here's what I've learned. John Harris's opinion is that, we think, oh, retirement, you work, retire, now you just go do your stuff, right? And I think the disconnect here for people that in retirement that could be feeling the same thing we're talking about is it's a lack of purpose still. Because here's the little test, right? I always hear, because I love golf, right? Mm-hmm. You're retired, go play golf. It's almost like, okay, great, that's what I'm gonna do. So I think what happens is we substitute our hobbies for a purpose in retirement. At least that's what they tell us, right? My little scenario example is if Cecil came to me 4 years ago when I was out working at Edward Jones every day and said, John, what's your purpose in life? There is no way that I would ever say golf, watching football, having a few cold beers, right? Those are hobbies. So when people go, well, now you're retired, what's your purpose? And they explain purpose by hobbies. Go play golf. Right? No, those are hobbies. Nothing's changed. When you retired, the thing that was your purpose, which really was, I don't know, it felt more of a support need, right? People need you. Then when you retire, okay. So to me, that's one of the misconceptions of retirement is we need to quit. We need to quit comparing hobbies to purpose because hobbies aren't going to give people purpose. So as all those people that since we've been studying, all those other thinkers around retirement, there's a real theme there about what purpose really gets to at the end. And it's really when you get to serving others.
Yes.
So think about me playing golf. I'm not serving anybody by myself, right? Think about me watching TV. I'm serving myself. And therefore, that's when you get in that, what one of the guys who talk about retirement, you get to stage 3. You start experimenting with stuff to figure out what your purpose is. But a lot of times it's not the hobby. It's the feeling. It's what you get out of it. Cecil and I were talking about it. I go, man, Cecil, when I think about, I can go play golf, but it's not my purpose. And we joked about, even between us, like I told him the other day when I was Ubered. And then some people like connotation about, really, you're Ubering? You're Ubering? Dude, really? You're 65 years old, professional man, but you're Ubering? Yeah, I'm Ubering. I ain't got a problem with it because here's the deal. It felt a little bit more purposeful because here I was helping young people get to work in the morning. I'm helping older people get to their doctor's appointment. It felt more than just a hobby or something to do. And that's what I think Cecil and I are trying to really communicate in this retirement thing for people that are in it. And maybe you're like, oh, wow, yeah, that's what I've been doing. Or people are getting ready to get into it. Don't think that your hobbies are going to satisfy you for a purpose. Because it feels like we all have a purpose. And so I think that's what I've learned, Cecil, since last time we did this. I looked more and heard and listened to more people about retirement and some of the concepts. Anything strike you since last time we really talked about?
Similar thing as far as Ubering. I mean, John and I talked about that in the first podcast that we did, and it piqued my interest mainly as an opportunity, as we talked about, to make some money if you're going on a trip or you want to do something extra for the wife or whatever. But as I continued to drive, just like John said, you find out you're providing a service. I mean, I and a lady, I drove her yesterday to the airport and we had the same discussion. I said at first it was just a money thing, and now it's a service. And I told her stories of the best story or two stories I have is taking an elderly lady from her home to a doctor's appointment. She wasn't feeling well. And then the other story is a young mother taking her and her young baby, having to drop the baby off at a daycare and then come back the other way to take her to work. As well as with older people with Uber, you drop them off at their front door. I told my wife, if they were catching a bus, there's a bus stop 3 blocks from their house. So when they get off the bus, they got to walk. Whereas with the Uber, I'm dropping them at their door, and they appreciate that. And so it's a feeling of service. Now there are other parts that I like, the competition of, oh, can I make a little money, and that hustle, trying to go and go and go. But putting that aside, that has now come down, and the service aspect of it is good. So find something where you're serving somebody, where you're, like John said, you're doing something for somebody else, not for yourself, which going to play golf, that's for you. Watching a football game, that's for you. What are you doing for somebody else? What are you doing to make a positive impact on somebody else's life? And I'm not telling you got to become an Uber driver because there's other things, but you have to think about that. And that, in my opinion, has to start earlier in life. I saw a post yesterday where one of our friends said something as it related to retirement, that he was concerned that he would be bored in retirement. And my first thought on that is that you really haven't thought about retirement until now. You need to start thinking about retirement. For those of you who might be listening to this and are in your 40s, you need to start thinking about that now. If you plan to retire, whatever date that is, What are you going to do? Don't plan to retire at 65 and at age 64 say, oh, what am I going to do when I retire? You will be bored.
So, bam, Cecil. I'm gonna say bam because what you really, I think, is you just summarized really what you and I,
Yeah.
are trying to do with this podcast. We're not acting like we're the retirement gurus at all. What we're trying to do is let people know that there's some thought that needs to go into retirement. And if you just go all your life thinking what you see in retirement on TV that you're gonna retire to, the peaches and cream, running around the field with your wife or no, there's a lot of other things that you can prepare yourself for. So while we're trying to do in these podcasts, honestly, and saying we've been through it, it's that whole concept of us old folks, people that experience stuff, they have things to say. You can learn from it. So instead of you going through it, for me, for instance, I would tell you, if Cecil would have had this podcast a year ago and I wasn't on it, but it was somebody else, I'd really appreciate it because that would have saved me a whole year now. I'm almost a year into retirement. And it would have saved me a whole year of understanding all this stuff I had to go through. I could have did a better job of and I could have planned it out. I'm gonna spend 3 months on every day is a Saturday. This is what I could have done, right? Cecil?
Exactly.
Okay, now I'm gonna need a purpose. Now I gotta think about no golf. I gotta start thinking about how am I gonna serve others because of all the research that we've done in all of this stuff. And the longest research study, the Harvard research study of adult development, says that the happiest people are ones that have connection, right? And they're not isolated. So that's what you need to start thinking about when you retire. And the other thing with Cecil and I haven't talked about that we wanted to is everybody's situation is different. Absolutely. And we haven't even touched on the differences of those situations. For instance, Cecil's married. He has a wife at home. His retirement day and his whatever he bills is different than John. I have a girlfriend. She lives in another place, right? My day of retirement and how it might be built around her is going to be different than Cecil's. There are other folks that we know, right, that may not have a spouse, or they may not be as in good physical condition. Physical condition is another big part of this. Where are you with that? Like I can imagine, thankfully, Cecil and I are, we're reasonably in good shape. But I mean, there's a bunch of 6, 5-year-olds out there like us that are in terrible shape. They can barely walk, have diabetes. Their retirement looks a whole lot different than ours. And I would think that would be even more difficult because of the consequence of the impact of isolation that can have on people when they retire. What I've learned today, so I'm going to summarize what I learned since last time we talked and all the research we've done and I've done on this concept because it is sort of eye-opening, right, is that we have to have a purpose and we have to have connections. If you don't do that, the studies show that you will not live as long a healthy and happy life. So that was what I've learned. And so I'm continuing to sort of think about that, think about where my purpose is. It's not golf. It's not watching Netflix. But the frustration is having so much left that all of a sudden it gets turned off.
Yeah.
That's what I want to let people know. That's what you're going to experience. All of a sudden you go from, like you said, people needing information from you. You're getting information. You're making things happen to all of a sudden, hey, go play golf. It's a tough transition.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point that we are all different, and he pointed out some differences. I'll add to that. Some of you may have spouses who have passed away. Some of you may be without parents. I think both of us have lost our parents. You may have lost a friend. So some of you have grandchildren, some of you don't. Some of you, some of you may have grandkids living with you. Everybody's situation is different. And I just feel like the commercials we see on TV are so disingenuous and they put us in this box and, oh, as long as you have all your money, everything's peaches and cream. No, because we're not all the same. And health is a big part of it, and the mindset has to change. Nobody's asking you to go out and, lift weights for 40 minutes a day and then go run 4 miles and then come back and lift some more weights and then drink a ton of protein. Nobody, but even if you don't have grandchildren, you need to be able to lift something up. You need to be able to get up out of a chair. You need to be able to at least go for a 30-minute walk without, keeling over and dying. If you're not going to take care of yourself now, be prepared to have somebody taking care of you later, because that's what's going to happen, and it won't be fun. And as you look at your life now, I was either looking at something on television or thinking about something, and I thought to myself, I wonder what that'll look like in 5 years. And then it occurred to me in 5 years, I'll be 70 years old. And so those kind of thoughts start entering your mind. You're like, what? Your health is important. I've thought about that and talked about that. I think that it's a healthy eating, not to deprive yourself of, I'm going to have a cocktail every now and again, a couple of beers or whatever, a cigar. If you have no other purpose, make the purpose taking care of your health, in my opinion. It's that, to me, it's kind of that simple. Yeah. Adult children, you have adult children, I have adult children. They have issues. They come home and want to bounce that off you, and it's more than just, oh, I scraped my knee or the chain of my bicycle it's come off. It's there's just different stuff at this age, and to be told that retirement is just, again, as John said, we're going to play golf all day, we're going to take a cruise, and then we're going to go, I don't know, what, cross country trip, and is that how you're going to spend the rest of your life? I don't think so.
Yeah. And Cecil, I think what we're trying to help people understand is think about it. And if you're in it, think about it some more, honestly, because like you said, when one of the things we think about is if you ask somebody to close their eyes and visualize retirement,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
everybody listen to this, they close their eyes and visualize retirement, really. I don't know about you, but what I see is I see this picture of this couple running in the field with their grandkids and a dog, sunshine. That's what I see. Or the old couple at the beach. That's what I see. And my girlfriend Linda, we were talking about this the other day, because as I described retirement to her before, I
hmm
described it as what I would visualize with that scene, right? Like when I retire, here I am, me and my wife, and my kids are bringing their kids over, and I got their kids, and I'm taking them to the park and all that stuff. And to the point of what we just talked about, everybody's situation is different.
yeah,
Well, for
yeah,
me, that right now that's not the vision because I don't have a wife, I don't have grandkids. Cecil, he does have that stuff, so his vision of retirement could include all that. So when I was, me and my girlfriend were talking about Linda, I was like, Linda, my vision, that was what got put in my head. My vision today
hmm
is where I'm at today. Right now, I am, I'm a single man with two kids. I have a girlfriend, Linda, and she's a single mom with two kids, their own houses. We have to make that kind of figure out how we're going to do that. And she's not quite retired yet. My point was everybody's situation is different, but the bottom foundation parts of every situation is the same. Regardless, it may be easier if you're retired and your family is intact and you have kids because in some ways, Cecil, I would say that you haven't lost what you were doing before. You're not going to work to support them, but you're kind of supporting them all in general. So there may be a little bit of less of feeling of purpose for those folks.
yeah,
Again, the point is it's all different. And so we may want to try to have, an episode where we bring somebody else that has even a different situation, like somebody that might have some health issues.
yeah,
It'll be
yeah.
to talk about what retirement looks for them because I'm sure that we're blessed that we're right now, knock on wood, relatively healthy, but I'm sure there's plenty of our folks out there, our classmates, our friends, our neighbors that aren't as healthy. And so they might learn something from that kind of discussion. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it for today.
When you talk about health, and I think that physical health, mental health are extremely important and need to be talked about and not shied away from as we talk about retirement. Because again, like you said, the images portrayed, the images shared to us are peaches and cream. You're sitting on the lawn chair, drinking cocktails at the beach. You're just chilling, doing nothing. Your brain is turning to mush, but that's okay because everybody's happy and you have money in the bank, and that's what we're sold when that's not reality. And I don't think we can say that enough. I don't think we can't say that enough. That's not reality. It just isn't. And one of the things that I thought about yesterday while I was driving for Uber was the discussion has been that we are in the fourth quarter of our life. And I thought about that, thought about that, thought about that. I wanted to say, based on some things I've seen, as it relates to taking people to doctor's appointment, etc. And in my opinion, I've come to the conclusion: yes, we are in the fourth quarter of our life. However, there's the 2 minute warning, and when the 2 minute warning comes, in my opinion, that's when, if God wills, you live to be 80 or beyond. Once you reach your 80s, even if you're in good health, now you've probably lost a lot of friends. You may have lost a spouse. You may have lost a child. You may have lost a grandchild. maybe driving's not a thing for you to do anymore. Not because you're whatever, but you can't drive. And now you wake up and there really is no one to call because all your friends are gone. Or the ones that are still alive, maybe they're not as in good health as you are, so you can't really call. So you spend a lot of your time maybe visiting people that are infirm. But you are at the 2 minute warning, just like in a football game. You know it's coming to an end. Are you on the team who, when the 2 minute warning comes, you're just running out the clock because you've already got the game won? Or you're on the team that's behind? You got to run plays. You're trying to do stuff, but you can't. Nothing's happening. Nothing's working for you because you haven't prepared yourself both physically and mentally for the actual end of the game. Again, some people will say, "Well, you're crazy, Cecil. What does that even mean?"
Well, no, I don't think you're crazy, but because let me just kind of add to what you're saying. I think you get put in two camps. Just think about that. When you think, okay, let's say the 2 minute warning's up, right? People will either, in my opinion, there's probably a dichotomy of what they'll do. They'll go, oh, I got 2 minutes. You know that song, right? I'm gonna ride the bullet, I'm going skydiving, whatever. I'm gonna do it all. I'm doing it all. Then there's the other camp that might go, you know what, I only got 2 minutes. I'm not putting a lot of energy into it. I just want to kind of just chill and enjoy it. But the problem is that sort of lane, I think is not, like, I can see myself getting in that lane sometimes, like, oh, that way. But it's kind of debilitating because it's restricting to you, right? But it's easy. You know what? I want to start this, but you're thinking, shoot, that might take me 5-10 years to get done.
And I don't got that much.
I got no time to do it. That's what I'm making, right? Otherwise, you might go, oh, shoot, I only got 10 years. I'm going to get on this right now. Those are the two types of, I think, people might take to that 2 minute warning. This is good.
I think you also made a point as far as, and when we did the first podcast, I felt like we not only in the Substack where the podcast is broadcast, but we shared it with classmates and other people, friends, and we got comments about issues and problems and concerns that they were having. But I felt like when we responded and said, "Hey, can you expound on that?" People just disappeared. This is a topic that, again, we've said we are absolutely not experts on. We're just talking from what we've experienced in the short time that we have not worked. The things questions that have popped up in our head as far as, why when I go to a doctor is he treating me like I'm an invalid when, 6 months ago he didn't, care. He was like, now 6 months later, are you pissing on yourself? Are you able to feed yourself? What? Talking about? But these are conversations we need to have. In addition to, we don't talk about Medicare. We don't talk about we just struggle through the whole process by ourselves. John and I had talked about VA benefits. I had mentioned that didn't think I was eligible. He pointed out some stuff, and I'm in the process now of trying to get that eligibility. But it doesn't happen if you don't have that conversation. If you keep all that information to yourself, and John pointed out before, at our age, we are a wealth of information. But it does no good if you don't share it, be it good or bad. If you're struggling, share it. If you're having everything's going great, share it. Don't just sit on it and go, well, my life's good, screw everybody else, or man, my life sucks. I guess everybody else, either do you think everybody else is struggling and don't care, or woe is me, everybody's doing good, I'm the only one suffering? You'll find out other people have the same thoughts. What is this thing called retirement? What am I supposed to be doing? What? Share.
Yeah, and Cecil, I would really love the folks that watch this to share their thoughts about this. Like, is it just me and Cecil that we think all this stuff is like out there? Or, maybe we just think, I don't know, but I'd be curious now that we've done a couple of these and we've talked about things that people don't talk about. They just don't in retirement. All we hear about is financial stuff. I'd be curious of folks out there. Are we hitting something that's resonating? Are we not? Are we missing something because we don't have the situation? Because we want to hear from you. Again, we're not here to just help you. We're helping you guys to help us with some of your comments. And, like really more focused on how you defining your purpose. I think because we think that's a key issue in retirement. So I'm not trying to be cruel, but you know what? To say, well, yeah, this is what I do. I go play golf, knit, and I go kayaking. That's kind of now we're kind of trying to get a little deeper. Like, what does it do for you? And or how do you really feel like that solves your purpose? And if it does,
Yeah.
great. Maybe we can figure that and share that with other people. Like, okay, maybe knitting and golfing, somehow you can build a purpose in. For us, it hasn't worked. For me, it hasn't worked. So I'm going, there's other things, and we're learning that a lot of it is about the happiness comes with serving others still.
Yes. Yes.
So in retirement, figure out how you serve others, then you'll feel like you have a purpose and you'll be a happy person and you won't be in one of those data points in the Harvard study that says you died early because you were isolated and you got sick.
Yeah, we're not here to condemn anybody. It's what you're doing. Like John said, if kayaking is your purpose.
Right. And you got more wisdom. I'm always for it. Because I've learned so much. Just here's the beauty of it. Cecil, I want to thank you because you invited me to do this stuff. It's got me to, really look into more.
Yeah.
Instead of what you're saying is like what we kind of do and we kind of just go through. We've been conditioned that this is what retirement looks like. And then we're in it and it's not really working that way and we're struggling and no one's told us why. Or at least said, hey, consider these may be the why. Mm-hmm. So that's all we're trying to do, folks. So Cecil, I appreciate you getting me to really kind of think beyond what I was thinking about.
Well, actually, I didn't think, I really didn't anticipate it going in this direction because the very first one we were going to do, I was in St. Thomas and you were in Cozumel. Cozumel. We were on vacation. You were in a pool. I was sitting on a deck. We both had cocktails. It was just going to be a fun kind of a deal, I think, but because it never went through. So then when we did finally get together and do it, I think it took a turn that was different from maybe what I thought it was going to be a discussion about, which has been good. What else you got, big guy? I mean, what?
Well, no, we're about an hour, and I'm going to do my purpose today.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go play. It's a beautiful day in St. Louis. It's like 70 degrees. Go play golf, with my old buddy. So, but that won't be my purpose. My purpose is going to figure out how to help somebody today.
Exactly. And hopefully, I think I really hope, and I think we both hope that by listening to this podcast, that it at least gets you to think. Nothing else. Thinking about your purpose in retirement, if you're in retirement, if you're planning to retirement, thinking about something else other than, do I have enough money? Will I outlive my money? All of the money. You can have all the money in the world and you can be sitting in your house wanting to
100%. Be isolated, don't know where you're
bananas because you don't have any purpose, but you got money. So
can we ask one more thing for people that listen to this? Please send us some comments. I don't even know where you do it at. So do you do it on your thing?
Yeah. I'm trying to think if you can do it on here, but I
or on your when you send out the link to the podcast.
Yeah, but I'll send it out. I'll put it. Yeah, if I put it on like Facebook or whatever, then if you listen to it there, you can comment underneath it.
Because we really encourage you guys to make this a two-way conversation. We like to learn from you as much as like I said, it's crazy. We're just learning as we go. We opened up the topic and man, there's a lot there. It just is. So, thanks, Cecil. I got to go get ready to play golf.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you. And hey, guys, we are trying to change the narrative. So help us do that as it relates to retirement. And we'll get back with you, John. We'll have some other stuff to talk about next time.
All right.
Take care. All right.
Bye.
Bye.